Africa International is with me now. Could we see a significant change forever, as Will Ross pointed out in that report, because of these sanctions and what's happening in Libya?
I think we will see real change on the African continent in terms of dynamics, because Gaddafi was very heavily involved. He financed many of the governments. Zimbabwe, Uganda, we've just seen here, he gave them the first batch of weapons to fight their own rebel war there. So he had links, especially with the non-democratic governments. Now, we know very well also on the African, their complexities. Nigeria, for example, has no sympathies whatsoever. Just into two, and they almost cut off relationship. South Africa has been very much opposed to him, his vision of Africa. So there will be change in terms of many people will lose their money that he finances them. But there will be a few who will also say goodbye Gaddafi if he goes.
It's interesting that you bring up the divisions between Gaddafi and certain African countries. We heard from Uganda today that Gaddafi hasn't asked for asylum, therefore Uganda hasn't offered asylum. Apart from Uganda, are there any possibilities, any countries in Africa that may offer some sanctuary for this man if he is forced to leave Libya?
Well, first of all, Uganda won't offer. I don't think that it can.
It will never come to the table.
He has a very complex relationship with President Museveni as such. You know, friendship one time, enmity the other. And also, Uganda government itself is in very grave trouble. There are people threatening to rise up after the elections which they feel were rigged. So he goes there, it might be a short stay in Uganda. But I really don't see him going to an African country. You know, not many African countries would be capable really of keeping that type of mega personality. He's a very proud man, Gaddafi, and to go to an African country, perhaps Latin America, Venezuela perhaps, or an Arab country like Saudi Arabia, which also has its own problems. I think Gaddafi has a problem. He's very confined right now in Libya. He doesn't know what to do, where to go. They've just talked about Uganda. He has very mega interests. He had banks. He's trying to invest in the oil industry there. It's a very personal relationship. But all this, he really fears that is just going to evaporate away.
So if this does evaporate away, in his eyes, where does this leave the economy then of Africa? We saw the concerns of how sanctions on Libya are affecting these economies.
I think that he was giving personal money to presidents rather than sort of helping. Of course, we know that the Libyan government had invested in several enterprises right across the continent. That's true. But I don't think they will get China and other countries to invest. He was giving personal money to presidents. Now, it means many of those presidents, like Mugabe and others, presidents will be weaker themselves.
Exactly. So what does this do? Which presidents do you think are going to be most obviously weakened?
I would say the presidents that he has supported militarily and financially. Of course, Uganda government, as we say, even if they've had friendship, he's going to be quite weak. And also, the example itself of Gaddafi being kicked out means that governments which are weak and democratic like Uganda will be facing real terror from the people. The people will say, you have to go now. We cannot see many other countries, the majority of our countries would be affected. Perhaps the African Union as an institution, because he has also been financing, sometimes paying off bills of governments that can't pay their own membership for many years. He just comes and says, a few millions who wants to be paid for and so on. So African Union will lose his type of vision, which of course countries like South Africa and a few others opposed. But there is a substantial amount of Pan-Africanists who think Gaddafi's vision of uniting Africa with him as the sole, the great leader there is going to be lost. And that's why you see some few people, demonstrating here and there. But overall, I think it will be a good thing that Gaddafi goes, because that would give impetus to many other governments like Uganda, Rwanda, and all these countries, Zimbabwe's Mugabe and so on, to change. Perhaps the people will rise up there and overthrow these governments as well.
Could see an extension of what's happening in the Arab world. Vincent Magombe, thank you very much for your views today.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
A reminder that